In this problem, we're given some information about a bee nesting box, and we're asked to estimate how many tubes we could fit inside of the box. If you do a search for a bee nesting box on the internet, you'll get all kinds of different pictures, and people basically create tubes for the bees to fly in and out of to help them create a hive. And apparently this is some kind of kit where what you have is all of these tubes that would be arranged in the kit, and you can see a picture here of the bee, and the bees would fly into the tubes apparently, etc. So lots of background information that we would need to be able to answer this. Is this also a very obscure question, so it seems somewhat worthwhile to do, but I certainly, if I was a teacher of the class, I would give way more information to be able to answer this, because this is very, very, very subjective, which I know can be very frustrating for students. So the estimate could be totally different depending on how you would do this. So they're saying the front of the box is 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters on the inside. So we'll say this 15 centimeters here and 15 centimeters here. And it's asking us to estimate, so not to come up with a really complicated answer, but just figure out approximately how many tubes can fit inside the box. Well, the tube has an outer diameter of 8 millimeters. So that's going all the way across, so the diameter of the tube, millimeters, which is 0.8 centimeters. There are 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. So if we were to do a rough estimate, let's just call this 1 centimeter. Okay, so 0.8 is very close to 1. It's approximately 1 centimeter. And so really the estimate would be that since each of these is 1 centimeter across, we could get 15 of them in the horizontal direction, we could get 15 of them in the vertical direction. So a rough estimate for the number of tubes that we would have would be 15 times 15. You could use your calculator there, which is 225 tubes. So a rough idea of approximately how many of these tubes would go in the bee nesting box would be 225. So here's a bit more information for part B and part C. Part C would require a huge amount of mathematics, and I'll show you why in 1 second. The textbook gives some idea of how you might tackle this by actually drawing this box 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters and actually creating a diagram of the circular tube, and then duplicating that diagram and trying to fill up this box with as many tubes as you possibly could. And that certainly would be one way of doing that, but that would be sort of the perspiration method. Nothing wrong with that, but it would take an awful long time to do that. And the inspiration method, just to let you know why I'm not going to tackle this problem, would be, okay, if we have all of these circular tubes, one way would be to just pack them vertically on top of each other. So certainly we could do that, but then what's going to happen is we've got a lot of empty space here because we're just sitting a circle directly over top of another circle. But what the textbook is suggesting, which would be true, is that if we put the circle here, then what we're going to get is these are going to sit nicely, very nicely inside of each other, and we're going to use up some of that space, but the calculation that would be involved there would be much, much more difficult. Just to make one more comment, so when we did an estimate here, we were estimating that the outside diameter was 1 centimeter, and then we got a very easy calculation. We could get a better estimate by saying, well, we've got 15 centimeters, and how many times can we add a tube if they're only 0.8 centimeters? So if you take 15 divided by 0.8, you get 18.75. So instead of us saying we can go 15 by 15, we could go 18 by 18. So we could have 18 in this direction and 18 in this direction. We'd have to round down because 19 won't fit. That will be too many. It will be outside the dimensions of the box. So maybe a better estimate, if we're actually using our calculator, would be to say 18 times 18, which is 324. So that's one possible way of doing it. And then the next step would be, there's probably going to be more than 324 because that's assuming that we're stacking them directly over top of each other. If we offset the second row, and we're going to get a little bit of extra space, and then offset the third row and so on. But like I said, the math involved there would be way beyond what I would be able to do easily, and I'm sure that's not the intent of this question.